The dream started 13 days after my transplant. A child's laugh. A name I couldn't forget, Grayson. I thought I got a new heart. But what I really got was a warning. The first dream came 13 days after the transplant. I was standing in a kitchen I didn't recognize, holding a coffee mug I'd never owned, listening to a child laugh in the next room. I don't have children. I've never seen that house. But I knew somehow that the child's name was Ellie. When I woke up, I could still smell cinnamon and soap. My pillow was damp. And my chest felt different. Not the usual tightness, not the scar aching under the bandages. But something deeper. Like someone had opened a door inside me. And not fully closed it. They warned me about emotional side effects. Said it wasn't uncommon. Anesthesia. Trauma. PTSD. But they didn't say anything about memories that aren't yours. I told myself it was just my brain coping. Grasping at anything to make sense of the body I barely recognized. Still, I wrote it down in a notebook. Dream 1, cinnamon. Ellie. Yellow walls. Red ceramic mug. The second dream came 4 nights later. Same kitchen. Same child's laughter. But this time I was crying. Standing by the sink, looking out a window at rain. Holding a photo in my hand. A man. Dark beard. Blue flannel shirt. And a voice behind me whispering. You don't have to let go. Just don't disappear. I woke up gasping. Sobbing like I'd lost someone. But I hadn't. Not yet. I asked the nurse at my follow-up if dreams could change after transplant. She smiled politely and said, well, you have a new heart. And sometimes it brings more than blood. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't have the courage. But that night, when I took a shower and saw the scar on my chest in the mirror. Long, pink healing. I whispered without thinking. Who are you? And deep inside, somewhere I couldn't name, I felt a reply. Not words. A memory. A smell. Cinnamon and soap. And laughter I couldn't forget. I woke up with a word on my lips. Not a thought. Not a dream. A word. Grayson. I didn't know what it meant. A name? A town? Something from a movie? It just came out. I lay in bed gripping the edge of my blanket, trying to recall the dream. But nothing remained. Just that name. And a dense, aching feeling like someone had just left the room. And taken the air with them. Later that day, I Googled Grayson. There were hundreds of results, say. Last names, cities, football teams, even a denim brand. But nothing made sense. Nothing clicked. I closed my laptop. But the words stayed with me. All day. Like a whisper I couldn't trace. The next dream was colder. Sharper. I was holding a bird in my hands. Still warm but unmoving. Small body. Gray and white feathers. Eyes already gone dim. I stood in a park, fallen leaves, wet grass, smoke in the air. Wearing a soft blue sweater I've never owned. I could feel the weight of it on my shoulders. Beside me stood the same child, Ellie. She looked up at me with an expression that broke something inside me. She whispered, Mama, don't leave me. And in the dream, I answered instantly without hesitation. I can't. And that's when I realized something that made my breath catch. I wasn't myself in the dream. I was her. I showed up at the hospital without an appointment. Sat in the waiting area of the transplant wing. Staring at the wall like it might open up and give me a sign. After 40 minutes, a younger cardiologist I'd never met agreed to see me. She smiled kindly. Asked how I was feeling. I nodded, gave her the expected answers, healing well, some sleep trouble, occasional tightness. Then softly I asked, Do you know whose heart I received? She blinked. The smile didn't fully leave her face. But her eyes shifted. You know it's anonymous, she said gently. We don't disclose those details. I know, I whispered. But I keep dreaming things. Seeing people I've never met. A little girl. A kitchen. A man in a blue flannel shirt. A name, Grayson. I want to know if any of it is real. She was quiet for a moment. Then nodded slowly. You're not the first person to ask, she said. You'd be surprised how often this happens. What does it mean? I asked. She looked at me carefully. Sometimes the body remembers. Even when the mind doesn't. That night, I stood in the shower staring at the long pink scar that traced the center of my chest. It didn't look foreign anymore. It looked like a seam. A stitched boundary between 2 lives. I looked myself in the eye in the fogged mirror and whispered, Who are you? And deep inside, beneath my ribs, behind the thrum of someone else's heart. I felt a flicker. Not a word. Not a thought. A memory. A smell. Cinnamon. And the sound of a child laughing. Later, I opened my laptop again. But this time I didn't search for Grayson. I searched. Heart transplant, Boston, donor, woman, children, Ellie. On the third page of results I found it. A news story from 7 months earlier. Erin Grayson, age 34, killed in a car accident. Survived by her 2 children. Her heart had been donated. My heart. There was a photo attached. She had brown eyes. Warm smile. A face I didn't recognize but felt like home. In the image, she was standing in a park, holding a small child. The same child from my dream. Ellie. That night, I sat in the dark in front of the mirror, tracing the scar with my fingers. Not with fear. With something closer to reverence. I whispered one question to the air. Erin, are you still here? And for a moment, the room felt warmer. Like someone had stepped quietly inside and turned the lights back on. I waited a week before I did anything. Told myself I needed space. Time to process. Time to heal. But the dreams kept coming. Not nightmares. Not exactly. Just visits. Moments I wasn't supposed to witness. A child's cough. A man humming while slicing apples. A Sunday morning sunbeam falling across a floral bedspread I've never owned. And always Ellie. Always calling, always reaching. Sometimes with joy, sometimes with panic. Like I was leaving her again. I couldn't take it anymore. I searched again, this time not for Erin, but for her children. Obituaries don't name minors, but a related article did. Grayson children supported through local fundraiser. There it was. 2 names. Ellie 6 and Noah 9. They'd been taken in by their aunt. No interviews. No photos of the kids. Just a last name. Brenner. I searched for Brenner plus Boston plus donation plus fundraiser. Eventually, I found it. A local craft shop's Facebook page had hosted a community drive for the children. One post tagged a woman, Kara Brenner. Her profile was private, but her bio said, Auntie, maker, survivor. I clicked her photo. Recognized her eyes. Same as Erin's. I didn't message her. I couldn't. Instead, I drove. For hours from where I lived. No real plan. Just an address listed on a page connected to the fundraiser's PayPal. I told myself I'd drive by and leave. Just see. Confirm they were real. That this wasn't some grief-induced delusion. But when I pulled up to the small blue house, something in me broke. Because it was the house from my first dream. Same yellow curtains. Same crooked mailbox. Same tiny wind chime hanging from the porch light. I sat in my car, shaking. Then the front door opened. A little girl ran down the steps barefoot. I knew her before she even looked at me. Ellie. But the part one wasn't ready for? She knew me too. She stopped halfway across the yard. Stared. Then tilted her head slightly and said, Mom? It hit me like a wave to the chest. She wasn't confused. She wasn't guessing. She recognized me. Her aunt appeared seconds later, rushing after her. Ellie. Shoes. Then she saw me. Froze. I got out of the car, hands raised. I'm sorry, I said quickly. I shouldn't have come. She cut me off. Are you? I nodded. I think I have Erin's heart. Her expression shattered. She looked like someone had just pressed a bruise she hadn't shown anyone in months. I'm not here to upset anything, I whispered. I kept dreaming about her. About Ellie. I didn't know why. But I saw this house. I saw her room. I swallowed. Her last words. Tears welled up in Kara's eyes. She was trying to get home, she whispered. She said, I have to get back to my babies. We stood there in the driveway, the wind moving through the leaves above us. Then Ellie walked up to me, small hand reaching. You smell like Mommy, she said. And I broke. Kara didn't invite me in. Not yet. But she let me sit with them on the porch. Ellie curled beside me like we'd done this every weekend of her life. She told me about her new school, her purple backpack, how she doesn't like mustard anymore but loved it when we used to live in the other house. I hated when you left, she said simply. But then I dreamed you came back. I looked at Kara. She was trembling. I think, I said slowly, a part of Erin is still here. Kara nodded. She was always stubborn. When I drove home that night, I didn't listen to music. Didn't cry. I just drove in silence, one hand over the place where my heart beat steady. Not mine. Not anymore. And for the first time since the transplant, I didn't feel alone in my body. I started visiting every other week. No expectations. No rules. Just being there. Sometimes I brought Ellie books. Sometimes we painted rocks on the porch. Other times we just sat in the yard, her tiny fingers absently braiding the hem of my sweater while I watched the wind move through the trees. Kara was cautious at first. Protective. But not cold. She never once said the word mother. Never asked me what I wanted from them. But I think we both knew I wasn't there out of curiosity. I was there because something in me still beat for Erin's children. Literally, the dreams didn't stop. If anything, they intensified. Now they came even when I was awake. Flashes. A cracked tile in the upstairs bathroom. A melody hummed while folding towels. A sudden urge to check the oven even when nothing's inside. Once, while brushing Ellie's hair, I said, "Did you find your turtle sticker under the bed?" She looked up at me, eyes wide. "How did you know that?" I didn't. But Erin did. There was one dream that kept repeating. A locked drawer. Always the same one. Wooden, shallow, sticking slightly on the left side. In the dream, I was standing in Erin's old bedroom. It was evening. Rain outside, wind brushing against the windows like fingertips. And I was trying again and again to open that drawer. The feeling wasn't fear. It was urgency. As if whatever was inside needed to be found. I finally told Kara. She went quiet. "There's a drawer like that," she said. "In her bedside table. I moved it into storage when we packed the house." My heart raced. Or maybe hers did. "Do you still have it?" She nodded. A week later, we opened the storage unit. Everything was neatly stacked, boxes labeled by room, season, child. Kara was methodical like that. The bedside table was near the back. It looked exactly like the one from my dream. Same peeling paint. Same uneven legs. Same stuck drawer. Kara pulled it open halfway, struggled with the angle, then stopped. "Your turn." I stepped forward. My fingers knew the edge, the weight, the catch. With a short tug to the left, it slid free. Inside was a folded piece of paper, yellowed and creased. Kara looked confused. She hadn't put it there. I unfolded it slowly. It was a letter. Unfinished. Written in blue ink, slanted handwriting. "If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. Don't let them tell you it was." I knew the risks. I knew. The sentence trailed off. No signature. Just a blot of ink. My skin prickled. The air shifted. Kara's voice was tight. She was going to work the day it happened. But she never made it to the office. They said it was a storm. Black ice. No foul play. I handed her the letter. But she shook her head. No. If Erin was scared. I need to know why. I looked back at the drawer. At the soft groove worn into the inside edge. Like someone had opened and closed it 100 times. Waiting to be brave enough. That night, I didn't dream of Ellie. I dreamed of headlights. A narrow road. Rain. Music on low, Nina Simone, humming just below the storm. And then. A flash. Not of fear. Of recognition. A car behind her. Too close. Bright lights. No time. And the feeling. Not panic but resignation. Like Erin had known. All along. That someone didn't want her to speak. I woke up with tears on my cheeks. Not mine. Hers. And they carried a single word. Protect them. I couldn't pretend anymore. Not after the letter. Not after the dream. Not after hearing her voice inside me whisper, "Protect them." It wasn't just a leftover memory. It was a warning. I started digging. First, gently asking Kara small questions she didn't realize were connected. Did Erin have any enemies at work? She ever mentioned someone following her? Was she seeing anyone before she died? Kara shrugged most of them off. No one serious. She wasn't ready. Still grieving Noah and Ellie's dad. She worked in finance. Boring, she used to say. Had a friend from work she talked about sometimes. Greg, I think. Greg. That name stuck. I searched Erin Grayson plus Greg plus finance plus Boston. Too many results. But when I added the name of her old firm, which I got from one of the storage boxes, I got something. Gregory Linfield. Senior manager. Same company. Retired 6 months after Erin's death. The same article featured a photo. A man in his 50s. Gray hair, soft eyes, wide smile. Too wide. I stared at it for a long time. He looked familiar but not from a dream. From the hospital. 2 months earlier. My third checkup. He'd been in the hallway standing near the nurse's station. Talking to someone. Laughing too loud. I hadn't thought anything of it, until now. I checked the hospital's donor coordination board. Guess who served as a community liaison volunteer? Gregory Linfield. Suddenly the air in the room felt thinner. I reached out to a contact from my support group, a woman who used to be a paralegal. Asked her how to get access to public accident reports. She showed me how. I pulled up the case file on Marin's crash. Single car collision. Rain. No tire marks. No other vehicle involved. But the police officer's notes mentioned something small. Witness saw a black SUV trailing her aggressively minutes before crash. Driver unknown. No plate ID. There it was. Buried in a report no one read twice. I scrolled down. The name of the witness had been redacted, but the timestamp matched 9:07 a.m. I checked Marin's calendar, still saved in her work folder. 9:15 a.m., call with GL. That's how she had it labeled. Every Thursday. Gregory Linfield. I confronted him. Not with fists. With presence. He was leaving the hospital holding a coffee cup with the same too wide smile. I stepped in front of him. Greg. He blinked, surprised. But not shocked. Yes. I think you knew Marin Grayson. His expression twitched, a fracture behind the charm. I'm sorry, he said. That name doesn't ring a bell. Really? I asked. Because she had a call with someone named GL every Thursday. And you worked with her. You also happened to be near the ICU hallway 2 months ago. He hesitated. The kind of hesitation you only notice if you've spent your life learning how people lie. Then the smile came back. I work with lots of families. Maybe the name just slipped past me. Right, I said quietly. But I think you remember her. I think you remember what she knew. And I think you didn't expect part of her to still be alive. For a moment, the mask dropped. Just a flicker. Cold eyes. Tight jaw. Then back to friendly. You have a good day now. He walked past me without looking back. But his hands were shaking. That night, I wrote everything down. The dreams. The drawer. The letter. Greg. I didn't know if I was in danger. But I knew the kids might be. So I sent a copy of the letter to Kara. Along with a message. Keep this safe. Lock your doors. And please don't let Greg near them. Her reply came an hour later. Oh my God. He brought toys the week after Marin died. Said he was a friend. I told him we were fine. He never came back. And then another message. You think he? I didn't answer. Some truths don't need confirmation. They just need light. I went back to see Ellie the next day. I didn't plan to. I just couldn't stay away. After what I'd found after the letter, the dreams, Greg's smile. I needed to see her. To make sure she was safe. Kara opened the door. Her eyes were tired. She didn't say much. Just nodded and stepped aside. Ellie was in the living room, curled up on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders. She didn't jump up like she usually did. Didn't smile. Just looked at me. And said, he was at the window last night. The room dropped in temperature. I moved slowly, sat beside her. Who, sweetheart? She stared at me. Not with fear. With something older. Mommy called him the quiet man. He had shiny shoes. I looked at Kara. She was pale. Her hands trembled. She had a nightmare, she whispered. Woke up crying. Said someone was outside. I turned back to Ellie. What did he do? She shrugged. He just watched. Like he was waiting. I didn't know what to say. Ellie leaned her head on my arm. I heard you in my dream too, she said softly. You said I won't let him near you. Her voice cracked on the last word. I closed my eyes, the weight of it sinking into my bones. Because I remembered the same dream. Same voice. Same words. But in my version, I was standing in front of Ellie. And behind her, just beyond the trees, stood a man in a black coat and shoes that reflected the moonlight. He never moved. Never spoke. But I felt him smiling. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced my apartment. Checked the locks. Reread the letter. If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. My body wasn't mine alone. My dreams weren't mine alone. And now neither was my fear. Marin hadn't just left behind her heart. She'd left behind a threat. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. There wasn't enough. Just a dream. A letter. A child's word for a stranger. But I kept the file. Printed everything. The report. The calendar. The fundraiser page. Even a copy of Greg's photo. I put it all in a red folder. On the cover, I wrote in black marker, "If something happens to me, open this." Then I left it with Kara. She didn't want to take it at first. But when I looked her in the eye and said, "He's still watching," she clutched it like a life jacket. I kissed Ellie's forehead before I left. She was drawing a picture of a treehouse. "It's where Mommy said we'll be safe," she told me. There were 3 figures in the picture. One was clearly Marin. One was Ellie. And the third? The third wore my green coat. I stayed quiet for a while after that. Didn't visit. Didn't text. I needed to know if the silence was real. Or just the space before something broke. But nothing came. No shadow at my door. No eyes in my windows. Just the slow return of breathing normally. And then one morning, I woke up without dreaming. No cinnamon. No voice. Just stillness. I cried harder than I had in months. Not out of fear. Out of release. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in block letters. Inside was a photo. Ellie smiling, holding a paper heart. It said, "You are my safe place." Taped to the back was a note in Kara's handwriting. "She doesn't call you Mommy, but she never calls you anything less." I sat on my front step and let the spring sun fall on my face. The scar on my chest ached, a soft, steady pulse. And I thought, maybe this is what it means to survive. To carry what isn't yours. To speak for the silenced. To love someone back to life, even if you only just learned how to live. I never saw Greg again. Maybe he saw the fear in my eyes and knew I'd fight. Maybe he realized that the voice he silenced once now had a new body. A stronger one. Or maybe Marin finally let him go. Not with forgiveness. With warning. I still keep the red folder. Still have the dreams sometimes. But they're different now. Softer. Last night, I dreamed of a kitchen I didn't build. A child I didn't birth. And a woman whose heart beats under my skin like an echo. She smiled. And whispered, "Thank you." Then she turned to light the stove. And left me there. In a home that wasn't mine. But somehow always had been.